Hi everybody, welcome back. So in this video, I wanted to talk about a solution to a problem that I've been having ever since the pandemic started, which is namely trying to set up things like virtual watch parties and social activities where myself and a group of friends can all get online and easily share some content and sort of participate in it in kind of a nice way. Um, but while there's a bunch of different ways to do that, a lot of them are all tied to specific platforms or specific services. So, for example, if you want to do a virtual watch party with Hulu, everybody needs to have an account with Hulu. If you want to do one with Disney, same kind of deal. And there's a huge fragmentation in the streaming services and platforms. Also, there's so many different um, chat video chat kind of services and platforms, from Zoom to Google Meet, Jitsi, Skype. There's a ton of them, and I wanted something that would work pretty much across the board, that would be pretty easy and would be entirely open source and not have to use services that might make some people uncomfortable to use them because they're collecting lots of data or require a subscription to a service that they might not otherwise want, or like you just want to use actual media that you own or have, right? So the solution that I came up with is fairly straightforward, and I'm going to walk you through how to go set it up. But also, I thought, as an experiment and see if this is something that people might be interested in, as a way to make it easy for you if you just want to get this working, out of the box, incredibly simply and straightforwardly. Also, in the description below this video, I will link to a Gumroad where you can download a pre-configured VM for like $5. And again, it's all open source, right? So you can just follow the instructions. There's nothing specific that I've done. There's no code that I've written or anything like that. It's just a couple of configuration options. But it also makes it easy to distribute to other people who might not be as technical. You can just say like, hey, go here, grab this VM, and you know load it up in a virtual box, and you're up and running and basically good to go. So basically, the way that this is going to work is going to be comprised of two different pieces, right? So effectively, the idea is we want to have a mechanism that we can go use to create a virtual. Kind of came out weird. We could change the size of this to make it bigger. We want to make a virtual webcam, which basically takes your desktop and then creates a virtual webcam. And this would be very straightforward to do. We're going to be using OBS Studio. And then what the part that was a little bit of a stickler, and it really isn't particularly difficult to get set up, although there are a few little tweaks that you need to do to get it working properly, is to go create a virtual sync audio device. So the virtual sync is basically going to be your microphone. It's going to be your microphone, but it's also going to be your audio output. And there's absolutely no reason why you need to do this in a VM. You could do this on just your regular Linux box, your laptop, your desktop, whatever it is. I kind of like to do this in a VM, and my thinking for this is it's pretty straightforward in any kind of virtual platform. I'm using VirtualBox here um, to disable audio out to the system that is running on. So basically, that simplifies the process by making the only audio device be the virtual sync, right? So if I go over and I pull up VirtualBox, what I can do here is I've got OpenSUSE on a different desktop. That's going to be the sort of the other side of our video conference, video chat kind of session. And then I've got Streambox over here. So what I've done, I've got this set up. I'm on a fairly powerful desktop here, so I gave it quite a bit of resources. So I gave it like 8 gigs of memory and a decent number of processors. I think it's picked 4. It probably doesn't need anywhere near that. So you can. Linux is pretty lightweight generally, so you don't need to necessarily have a ton of throughput. Now, or a ton of resources. What you will want to do is have decent network bandwidth and throughput, and it's something that you might want to consider. Some of the programs that I installed on the Streambox system are programs that will like make it easier for you to go download content. So if you're going to watch like a YouTube video, for example, it might be easier just to download that video first and then stream it. That way you don't have as much kind of coming in and going out. The other option that you could go do is to take this and set it up in a VM on a cloud provider and just add something like VNC or X2Go as a mechanism to connect to it and have that running on AWS or Google Cloud or Azure or whatever you want to go do, but somewhere that has a virtually unlimited amount of bandwidth, and you would then be sure that you're not going to eat up all your available bandwidth. Probably not going to be a big deal for most people, but the idea is that you could be streaming the video that you're all watching from the VM, and then depending on how you want to go do this with your friends, you may also be streaming your webcam and your audio of you watching the video along with all of your friends doing the same thing. So for you, it would be like 2 video streams kind of being uploaded at once. So the other thing that I did with this is I went down to the audio section and I unchecked the enable audio for that. So that basically means that there's no virtual audio device. There's no virtual sound card that's being set up for this VM. So I'm going to cancel that. I'm just going to go start this up. And I picked Linux Mint for this. I like Linux Mint. I think it's a nice desktop distribution. And then the other thing that I thought about it is it's very friendly for people who may not be really Linux savvy. So again, with the idea that you could potentially share this with friends and family members who may not necessarily be people who are particularly savvy when it comes to this stuff. So the user is going to be Streambox, and the password is also Streambox. So let me log in there, and we'll give this a second to go ahead and load up the desktop. This message gets shown every single time. I generally use something a little bit more lightweight for my personal desktop, so there's probably a way to disable that warning coming up, but you can safely ignore it. So basically, there's 2 components of this. They're already set up and basically good to go. But if you go ahead and launch the Pulse Audio volume control, you'll see that there's the virtual sync device. And then when applications are loaded and they're going to be running, you can go ahead and have different audio levels for each one. And you can also go pick the output device of each one of those, the programs, right? So this allows you to go ahead and set the output of each one of the programs that's going to be running. If you're going to be doing this on hardware, you can see that we have all output devices, hardware output devices, and virtual output devices. The virtual syncs are not shown by default. If you're doing this, and normally it's just going to go show you the hardware, so it doesn't show up. So I'm going to put it all back on all, and then we basically should be good to go. Input devices, there's no real physical input devices here, so this is also going to be showing all except monitors. The virtual sync is something that you can monitor. Basically, you can, it acts as an input on one side and an output on the other side. So it's basically like a named pipe is effectively what this is going to be set up to be using. And the nice thing about this is that's the default audio setup for this VM, and it's the only thing there. So you don't need to worry about picking the right audio device. Generally speaking, it's pretty simple and pretty straightforward for that. And then the next thing we're going to have is we're going to have OBS Studio, which is Open Broadcaster. So what we're going to do is we're going to launch this. And, many of you guys may be familiar with OBS Studio already. And you can see that it's set up so we can have the output of either the desktop or VLC, right? So I'm not running VLC right now, but that is one of the packages that's installed. If you go to Sign in Video, you'll see that we've got VLC Media Player. And the idea is that you could just go ahead and select a video to play, and it will actually just go play that directly if you wanted to go do that. And then there's also a number of different programs that may be useful to pull down videos from YouTube or other video services or things like that. But you can also just go ahead and pull up a browser. So you'll see here that there's the Start Virtual Camera option, and I'm going to go ahead and turn that on. So this is going to go ask you for authentication. So I'm going to go ahead and say Streambox. Right, and that's now going to be loaded so that the module is going to be up and running. We're now going to have a virtual camera. And I'm going to go back to desktop. And I'm going to go ahead and minimize this. And now, basically what we can do is we can open up Firefox. And we'll give that a second to load. And again, if you prefer Chrome or something like that, you can install it. It's got Firefox installed by default. That's just sort of my preference. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to YouTube. And I'm going to do a search for Blender video. We'll do a search for Big Buck Bunny. That's in the public domain. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and click on this. And let's go click on YouTube. So we'll actually go watch this on YouTube itself. So, all right. So what I'm going to go ahead and do now is I'm going to go over to section over here, and I'm going to go to meet.jit.si. If you're not familiar with Jitsi, Jitsi is a open source, free video conferencing software. So this is going to go ahead and generate a sort of short phrase to identify a meeting. I'm going to go just make one that I can remember really easily. I don't really care about security because this is just for the demo, and then I'm going to get rid of it. So I'm going to go call this one Pancakes or Die. Right. And I'm going to go click on Start Meeting. And this is going to go ask me what I want to go use. It's going to be OBS Virtual Camera, monitor of the virtual sync. I'm going to go click Allow. And then I'm going to go ahead and click Join Meeting. And I'm going to go over to the tab where our video is. So what I'm going to go ahead and do next is I'm going to go back to OBS on my actual desktop, which is over here. And I'm going to go ahead and change this to my second monitor. And this is showing a SUSE Linux desktop over here. So I'm going to go open this up. I'm going to go to meet.jit.si, and I'm going to go /pancakes die. And that should Let me go ahead and join this meeting. So I'm going to go ahead and click on join meeting. And now I see that I've got my session all set up over here, which is pretty nice. And let me get rid of this over here so make this a little bit smaller. So you can see that I'm on my other desktop. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back over here to my other system. And I'm going to go ahead and actually enable the desktop audio on my regular desktop system, which is normally turned off so you don't hear any dings and bells and things like that. I'm going to go click play over here. And basically what happens is this is going to go show up on my Jitsi session, and we should be more or less good to go. Now, it looks a little bit choppy in the Jitsi, but it's actually being a little bit weirdly choppy in the browser here. So I'm not sure if there's actually something going on with my bandwidth or what have you. But the few times that I've tried this, it's worked pretty well. And what I can do is I can actually go over here, and I'm going to go change this so you guys can go see what I'm doing. I'm going to go back over to my Jitsi session, and I can go click on settings, and I can go ahead and change. Is it over there? I can change the manage video quality. I can drop the video quality if I don't have enough bandwidth, right? And it may just be that I'm sort of doing like this weird 3 times upload. So I'm going to go change this to low definition and click done. And then now we should be able to maybe see that a little bit better performance. So it doesn't look fantastic there, but on the other few times that I've done, virtual watch parties with this, it seemed pretty good, and it hasn't been a problem. Again, I typically would, potentially download the video, and I've got a browser plugin here, so I can go click on download, and get this downloaded beforehand. So let's see what options we have for this. So we can get it for $7.20. That might be a better way to go do it, because it might just be the idea of sort of doing this multiple times. So if I go click on that, it's being a little bit weird now. Quick download. That's what we want. We're going to download this, and we should be, more or less good to go. So I'm going to go click on pause. Again, let me go over here. I don't want to make this too boring of a video where I'm showing this, but it works pretty nicely, generally speaking. And I think this is a nice alternative to some of the other kind of tools. So I think it's probably preferable to use something like a video that you download if possible. But let me go back over here and change the video quality a little bit higher, because I think that might also be one of the clunky things. So maybe say standard definition. Now, if you're doing a watch party, a lot of times it's more about the experience of kind of watching something with your friends, compared to making sure that's the absolute highest definition possible. So, that's more or less the idea. So if I go click on this, let me see if it downloaded. Oh, it did. Okay, so it downloaded a couple times. So let me go over here to the downloads directory. I can go close this out. And we can try just watching it this way. And that seems like it might be a little bit better quality. It still feels a little bit choppy, but I think that's actually the video itself. I think this is a Blender project where they did this as sort of a demo tool for using this. Also, like I am also recording this with OBS on my desktop, and there's a few other kind of things going on. But it's I think it's a fairly nice solution. So anyway, let me go ahead and show how this is basically going to be set up. I'm going to go close my SUSE box over here just to go ahead and get rid of the overhead there. So go ahead and say the machine state. I'm going to minimize that. And then we'll go ahead and stop this big fluffy bunny. Close that guy out. And basically the idea is in the desktop of this, let me close out that Jitsi as well. So we probably just kill the whole thing. In here we have a Streambox install folder. And basically what I've got is I've got a pretty straightforward little script that I can go open up here. I can open this with a text editor. And basically there is a number of different packages that you want to go install. But it's basically the Pulse Mixer. PA is generally what a lot of the Pulse audio utilities are. So PA U control, PA Systray, PA Mix, SVT Play, -DL, YouTube download, Minitube, SMTube, VLC, and actually that's redundant. And then I installed HTOP as well, just to kind of see what the performance was. And then this is a critical one. We need to have the video for Linux, 2 loop back, DKMS, and the V4L utils, as well as FFmpeg. The other thing that we want to go ahead and do is make sure that we install the OBS Studio PPA, right? So we're going to do sudo apt add repository. Actually, I can get rid of this sudo there. But we want PPA OBS project / OBS Studio. Then do an update. Then you can go install that. And then basically all the rest of it is just some configuration that I did for Pulse Audio. So if I go back to that folder over here, I can go into Pulse, and there's a few different configuration files here. There's the client conf. Let me go change it to list view. Change it by date modified. And we can see that I've modified a few of these. The client conf, daemon conf, and the default PA are all what were modified. So if I go open this up, I scroll down here to the bottom. Basically, if I go find this last line over here, there is an entry. Make this bigger. An entry down here on this last line that I entered. That's basically says load module -null-sync, and then the sync name is equal to virtual_sync, and the sync properties are it's a device description is virtual sync, right? So equals device.description virtual sync, and that's basically it. So that's the big thing. Once you have that set up, it basically works. Now, the other kind of settings that I made, that kind of tweaked with this is that I found CPU to be really, 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 really high after enabling that. That may be because this is a VM, right? So I haven't tried this on physical machines because I haven't needed to go do this with physical machines. Again, I kind of prefer doing it as a VM. But if I go back to the client conf and the daemon conf, I go open these guys up. Basically for this one, let's see, did I uncomment anything here? I don't think I did for the client conf. So let me go back there. And the daemon conf, I did make a couple changes. So I did CPU limit no, right? So I uncommented that. High priority equals yes. And then real-time scheduling, real-time priority, those were uncommented. And then I think those were the main things. Let me scroll down here. Change the default sample rate to 44,100, and think that was basically it. I think the deferred volume safety margin USEC equals 1 was already uncommented. But once I made those changes, basically the CPU dropped dramatically, and it was no longer kind of running at crazy levels. So if you want to have a open source you know um, setup that you can go ahead and use to do video watch parties with your friends, this is a really nice way to go do it. But you can also use this for really anything where you wanted to have a desktop that you could really easily integrate into pretty much any platform that used a webcam and a microphone for the device. And I think that's the main thing that you get from this is it kind of really simplifies that process. Yes, there are tons of other ways to go do it. If you're doing this with like, meet.google.com, you can go ahead and share the video and audio from a Chrome browser tab, right? Which is great if you use Chrome, and that works. If you use Zoom, there's ways to go ahead and do this as well. But this is just boom, works out of the box. All you need to know is whatever application you're using for your video conferencing, video chat stuff, how to go select a microphone and how to go select a audio device. And with this, you don't even really need to do that. You just need to join it, and then you're basically good. And then you leave this running with the video playing. You can then join from your normal desktop, and then hang out with your friends and watch a movie together or watch um, somebody play video games on obviously on the Linux system, or if you wanted to go have like a DJ kind of thing, all this is pretty much open, but it's really really easy, very straightforward. Again, I know most of the people on this channel are Linux savvy, so I'm gonna go set up that Gumroad thing. I know that most of you guys won't need it, but even though this is quick and easy, it does take a little bit of time to set up. And for some people, $5 is it's a small price to pay for saving a good bit of time and making your life easier. So feel free to go ahead and try it if you would like to. Obviously, it is open source, so if you download it, you can give it to other people for free. You don't need to um, pay any money for it, and it's easy enough to go set it up with Linux Mint on your own or any other kind of distribution. So that's basically the idea. I hope it's helpful. I thought this also could be a really good way to, kind of show people open source in action, right? So it's a very tangible, easily accessible thing for people who may not necessarily be, big into the idea of using Linux, right? You can say, well, this is kind of a cool thing. You can check this out, and you know, um, might be a neat option. I know that there's other ways you can do this. You can probably do this on Windows and Mac as well. I'm sure that there's options. I know that there's like virtual audio cable for Windows, and you can probably do something with that. But this is super super easy, super straightforward, and yeah, have fun. And I know that this is sort of towards the end of, hopefully, knock on wood, towards the end of the pandemic, and it would have been great to have this in the beginning of it. But I I don't think I've mentioned this on the channel before, but I'm diabetic, and I have asthma. So despite the fact that things are opening up a little bit and people are feeling a little bit safer and doing limited interactions or have bubbles or social distance, I'm still fairly fairly socially isolated, and I know that a lot of people are also in that case. But even after the pandemic, it's still nice to be able to go do this. I know a lot of people have friends and family that live far away, and this is a nice way to go ahead and be able to do social activities where you can catch up and hang out and watch a movie and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, have a great night. If you enjoyed the video, like, subscribe. I'll also put this on my I'll put the OVA on my Patreon as well. So if any of you guys are interested, that's another way that you can get access to it. So if you enjoy the channel and you would like to encourage me to post more videos, that's one way to go to it. And yeah, have a great one. See you guys in another video. Hopefully, not too far in the future. Take care.